Good afternoon. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have from the Great Midwest RDV joining me in a special happy birthday presentation
hmm
here, and that would be Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell from around 2015. And I believe this is for somebody we have here in chat. That would be Desert Russell. Happy birthday. Congratulations.
Well, it's also for the Kurt Russell fans.
It's true because
The
Kurt
Western.
Russell's got the kind of face that you go, this is a guy that needs to be in Westerns and he can do whatever he wants in his 50, 60-year career. But I got to tell you, RDB, this is a modern version of what I call like a John Carpenter film in that the director is a little bit of a savant in that he writes, he directs, he's a musician. This is a micro budget movie. It only cost $1 million or $2 million to make. It was shot like in 3 weeks or something on whatever I read. I'd
Yep.
like to say within a month. It's got great acting, a great script. The cinematography is on point.
Well,
This is one of the better horror films in a long time. This is right up there with The Descent in the past 20 years.
well,
And it
it's
follows to me.
funny you bring that up because this is Cowboy versus Aliens with Descent.
Yeah.
It's literally what it is. And David Arquette just randomly showing up.
Well, actually, David Arquette and the other person with him is from House of a Thousand Corpses and other horror movies. That's Sid Haig, I think is how you pronounce it. So those were
Oh,
like cameos. And so when
I
you
didn't
see
watch
him,
that.
I go,
I didn't watch that one.
but he's a name in those circles.
The big names I saw were Matthew Fox and Patrick Wilson.
And of course, Kurt Russell.
Oh yeah, Kurt Russell's the main
He's the
star.
man. Well, here's the thing about the movie. It is a Western. What I like about it is, even though you say Kurt's the anchor, it really is a ensemble type of movie, right? I mean, everybody I think does a very strong job in here, and their characters are very
Mhm.
different. And this is what I call like a classical, old school. You're just trying to do the right thing as men. You're in a small town,
Yep.
and the guy well, let's just go from the beginning because actually I wanted to ask you because I know I've been talking about this movie for a long time. Is this the first watch for you?
It is the first watch for me.
Okay, give me your
Um,
initial impressions.
Going into it, American Western. I know it's going to be a little bit of cannibalism in there because I already read about it like a while back, so I already knew about the movie.
Right.
I just didn't know what level of gore they're going for. Are they going for 1,000 corpses or Evil Dead blood spraying? Are we going to see like eyeballs being pucked on and stuff? Like how disgusting are they going to get? Because some of these low budget ones, they're not scrutinized, so they just do what they want to do. And so going into this, it's a Western. The last time I watched a Western with Kurt Russell, Tombstone. I did. It's the only time I've ever seen him in a Western movie that I can recall offhand right now. Because I don't think, no, yeah, it probably is because, Kurt, or not Kurt Russell, but Kevin Costner just did that Horizon.
Mhm.
So it was kind of nice to go back to American Western stuff. And yes, he has a commanding presence like this, and it was him being the town sheriff. These guys in the beginning, Sid Haig, and David Arquette, who are idiots, rob some people, end up wandering into this camp where these are man-eating or basically cannibalistic, tribe of Native Americans, Indians, whatever you call them.
But you don't know that right off the bat.
But you don't know that. But you know that. Well, there's an arrow, a bow and arrow. He gets shot in the neck by an arrow, which you acquire a bow and arrow from Indians. And there's all these skulls, kind of like a graveyard thing, like like a burial thing, like the satanic kind of like a pentagram or something like that. It's weird. On the stones. So he's like, you're like, oh fuck, I'm getting out of there. So David Arquette manages to leave after Sid Haig gets an arrow in his throat. So he runs in the middle of the night, steals some clothes from the cemetery from a dead guy, goes into the bar, and basically gets a drink. Now we have this other guy who's like the backup sheriff, a deputy, notices this, goes in, interrupts Kurt Russell. They have a little sit down conversation about corn soup or corn chowder.
Or chowder.
Yeah, what they're having. And I gotta say, I wasn't a fan of this actor, the one who plays the backup deputy,
The older guy.
Richard Jenkins.
He's got the best lines.
Yeah,
I do believe. I'm dead serious. I do believe that. Keep going.
I guess he's from the movie called 1974. That's his film debut, or it was in 74. So I've seen him before. He almost looked like Nathan from when you see a picture of Clint Shaven. I thought it was Nathan from Landman at first, but Overall, this guy, he's not a very confident. He's a widower, and he's an unlikable character. And
why?
Because he talks too much. He talks, he pesters Kurt Russell. They're trying to be quiet, and they're sleeping. He's talking real loud. It's like almost like he's like handicapped or deaf or something. Well, he is old. He could be going deaf.
I think he's on the verge of a breakdown from grief from being a widower and just wanting to help out and make a difference in the world, because he doesn't have that much time in front of him. And Kurt lets him do it in this very small town.
Yes.
He lets him be a good person.
We have Matthew Fox, who basically is this guy who is a gentleman who basically has bragged about killing several Indian stuff. He doesn't, and he also does it in front of the other, like the guy they have, the guy who's a former Indian or a former savage who's now civilized now in town, who is played by what is his name in here? The actor's name is Zahn McClarnon, and you recognize him from Longmire. He was on there. He was the tribal police chief on there for a couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was in the second season of Fargo, and some other movies. But yeah, so you get to see all the characters, because mainly what happens is David Arquette ends up getting shot by the sheriff because he tries to run away. Kurt Russell shoots in the leg, so they need a doctor. Patrick Wilson's wife is the doctor. After we had this passionate sex scene with him with a broken leg.
She's the one on True Detective, if you know what I'm saying. I might be wrong, but I think that's her.
Well, there's Alexander Daddario, if you're talking about the one with
the other
Harrelson.
one.
I don't know. I didn't watch True Detective.
Oh my god!
The only one I saw in there was
Sophia
Bush. I think it was in there.
Or season 1.
No, that's Rachel McAdams. Yeah, it was the drunk over.
Yeah, that's season 2, I believe.
Yeah. Didn't really watch much of it. Anyway, so Patrick Wilson's laid up. He's injured stuff. And so they call Matthew Fox is sent to go by the sheriff to go get his wife to go. They need to retrieve the bullet out of the other cat's leg. He's in jail. So they go there. Kurt Russell goes back and talks to Patrick Wilson. Only after they find out, the next morning that, Deputy Nick is missing along with Patrick Wilson's wife. And this guy, and they believe that, they're captured by savages because, and also the David Arquette's gone too. So, and because the only evidence they have is the arrow in there, and one of the guys who basically was the helper over there was killed.
And I think some of the horses are gone too.
Yeah, yes. And so they rally a posse up here, and there's a funny thing too, because there's always a trope thing too. And it didn't really pull me outside the movie, but it was kind of like I just rolled my eyes at this. The mayor's wife is the one in charge, and she's upset why she wasn't called. They weren't notified of this meeting, the posse meeting inside the bar. What was it called? The Goats Inn or something, or Goats? I forgot what it's called.
It was a neat title. I remember that. I just don't remember.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let me contrast what you're saying here with the whole setup, because I went the complete opposite direction. Obviously this is a movie that if you go, okay, they're introducing all the characters. They are not flawless. They all have something going on. Kurt Russell's probably a little old and a little bit of a bully, I guess, in a way. He's the Law and Order guy, and the way they talk about him, they don't talk about it like that in front of him. Like, he'll probably just shoot somebody again, and the doctor doesn't want to go. But they're trying to do the right thing. And Patrick Wilson's laid up in bed, and he really loves his wife. He's upset because he's a smart guy. He's like, I think, a foreman or something, and he couldn't get a promotion. And she's like, well, I'm glad we're here together. And then, so it's so small of a town where everybody pitches in. So when this injury occurs and they go to take the bullet out and everything, next morning when they don't appear, this older sack guy that you don't like comes in. He's like, I think we have an incident. He's trying to be tactful. He's trying, like I say, he's trying to be relevant. He's trying to have a place. Older people sometimes don't feel like they have a place in society.
And that's kind of the thing too, and you also see some insubordination they had from like previous night with Nick, who was a deputy who he was lazy, he was like the millennial or zoomer who didn't want to go to work.
Yes.
Let the old man take and I'll take the day off. We don't need him. That's why we have a backup deputy. And let's just say
that that's where he's is making the right decision because he's like,
Mhm.
I got to get this lazy ass to do the
Yeah.
right thing. I can trust the older guy. Plus, he did good already, right?
So
So even Matthew Fox, when he comes in and he appears a little bit uppity, we find out this guy is extremely competent with what he's doing. Is let's just call him a hunter,
he's
if you will,
yes, yes.
or I don't know if he was in the military exactly. I don't remember off the top of my head,
I
but the fact that he's such a raw
Brooder,
part
yeah, he wasn't
of a human being, he's the killer side of it. That the older gentleman has some conflict with him because he's like, I don't see why you need to be that way or whatever. So it's almost like each of these characters is a different facet of a male personality of a human. You got a killer, you got your professional, you got your scholar, you got your everyman thing, and Patrick
as
Wilson.
they point out that Brooder's character, Matthew Fox's character, is a little bit of a bigot.
Is he?
But he's a bigot, but he's also got street knowledge. He's street smart when it comes
Correct.
to dealing stuff. Which
everybody's skill is needed on this adventure.
Yes, he's an excellent marksmanship too. As they have him too. They have they bring in the backup deputy Chicory, who basically despite being his many flaws, he is a former doctor in the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the war that day, so they have him come along because they need someone to look at Patrick Wilson's leg, and they're worried about him, because he's able to ride and stuff, getting gangrene stuff. And
see, I feel already at this point, the end of the first act, we're in a different position going forward, because at this point, I'm feeling there's almost no music or score at all, which I thought was great. I love the static, the not moving shots of the sets of the camera in the middle and things happening for the most part. Yeah. I like the fact that when they go and find out that everybody's missing and it's in the morning, and they're like, shit, what do we got to do? And it's a big deal. Everyone's taking this really freaking seriously because you figure they're probably dead, getting raped or whatever. That sort of stuff.
Chances are, yeah.
So my feeling is this
the guy,
this is tough.
The Native American guy, dude, pretty much says like these are troglodytes. They are inbred. They will rape and eat their mother. They are disgusting. They are most feared by all the other tribes, and the tribes want nothing to do with them. They're cannibals. They live inside the caves, and you go by near them, there's a territory, you're dead. And he didn't even want to come with them. He's like, I'm staying behind. I'll show you on the map, where they are and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I think that one big thing here too is that part of the horror element that's being set up here isn't what happens at the end. It's literally fear of the unknown, because we don't see them, we don't really know of them till the end. And also, again, this is after I think the Civil War, so what, in the 1870s, 80s, maybe, I can't tell, because they do have guns and they're somewhat educated. It is the Wild West, kind of, sort of, but they are civilized. So we're going back maybe 150 years.
Yeah.
And so wherever they're at, they're modern, right? And the guy has a telescope, the hand one, right? So that's
the German telescope, yeah.
And so when the Indian guy that they know that they're asking for this background information on it, he basically is saying, hey, I don't really know anything. This is all that we really know or think of or whatever. That's already like a fable in a sense. And so it's this idea that you've got these, there's this concept out there of like parallel society forming, like in the United States or China or Japan or just anywhere. When societies evolve, they kind of do it in a certain path or an order, and they can do it simultaneously. You don't realize it, but sometimes you get a branch that's broken off and hidden from it, right? And so that was kind of like, wow, if the Indians who had been here before Americans, even though they had their own infighting and lands and all that, were scared of this one little small thing, it just makes it feel like it's a really old world kind of horror or something. It's not somebody coming up with a gun and like, a gunslinger or something like that trying to rob you or whatever. It's a different kind of like primal feel to it, and the fact that we don't see or hear them, I think, is really setting up. So it's very grim to me by the time they settle up and take off, or at least that's how I felt.
Yeah. They call him the professor. That's what they call him in the movie. Yeah, that's literally what they call the Indian guy, the guide stuff. He's a professor. They don't really explain why he is, but I'm guessing he probably teaches school and stuff.
Now, the big thing I wanted to ask you, because the scene here too that kind of sets up, and we already kind of know how each character is and how some people think of each other. The stable hand was an African American person.
Yes.
And that's the body they find with the guts hanging out and everything. And then the
Yes.
comment is made, well, why did they take the woman and not
Well,
the Negro?
maybe one guy said, well, maybe thought he was poisoned, and you're like, oh, and he saw that's when they said that was Matthew Fox. I think it was probably said that. It was either Matthew Fox or I forget who it was, but it said it, and it's just like that person immediately got chastised.
Yes.
And that's I'm not gonna say that's not a new modern spin on thing, because there were bigots back then. There's always been bigots. There's also been people who were nice people, So it's like, so anybody who thinks like, oh, that was woke, they're calling out the guy because he's making fun of the, no, that's just there were people, honest, they're God fearing Christians that weren't bigoted, true Christians, There's a lot of them that would say they are, go to church, on Sundays and then just go home and drink and abuse their wife and all that stuff. It still happens today, but it was kind of great though, as far as this movie. I want to say, because when we get actually onto them actually going on the trail, and they got about 3 days ride.
Yes.
They go to make camp, and you all of a sudden you see Matt Fox taking out some bells and some barbed wire string. Yeah.
Setting up a perimeter.
The last time I saw that was at Walking Dead.
Did they?
Yeah, they string up the soup cans around.
Yes.
Around here. So if something comes near it, they know something's coming in, like a walker or whatever. And he said, like, what's that for? He's like, well, it's for in case, Native American or an animal comes in. He's like, oh, and the old guy is poo-pooing him.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you don't need that. But he's like, you hear something, you shoot and kill it. Because what if it's a guy asking for directions? They ain't gonna ask you for directions, if they're coming that close without saying anything, warning you. They're there to rob you. And of course, eventually they do get. They get an animal. They don't show up, but you hear it go. It's like limping.
I think it was like a wild boar or something. Is what it sounded, or a coyote.
It sounded like a coyote or a wolf.
Yeah,
one of the two. Anyway, the next night though, this guy comes up and they see him and they're like, I love these old like magnesium. I think they were the magnesium matches.
Yes,
and they let it go. She goes, shh, and it's like a torch burning to show their face. And here comes the other guy. He's like, here, Penny, here. And he's like, hey, that's enough, And the guy's like, oh, yeah, it's like, we just, traveling, we don't mean no harm, we were going to introduce stuff. And before they could, because the sheriff was like, okay, we'll let you in, Matthew Fox shoots them both dead.
And it's boom, boom, really quick.
Boom, boom. Yeah, quick. He's like, these guys were going to rob us. Now we basically need to.
Cold camp. Scouts, whatever.
And these are scouts. Put out the camp, go there. We're gonna sleep in the dark. And of course, these guys still find them. They don't know how, but they found them in the cold camp, and they pretty much took all their horses except for Matthew Fox. Who's like, well, they wouldn't take my horse. My horse wouldn't let anybody else ride it.
This was so sad to me, RDV.
Yeah. This is the horse is actually come across, and he's like, hey, Carlos is like, yeah, I thought they didn't take your horse. What? And you hear the horse is on its side. And this guy, he's been obviously he's ridden this horse, taking care of it all his entire life. Because back then, imagine this, like you have guys who love cars. This is it's just something you've been with for all your life, because that's your transportation, your livelihood was your horse. If you didn't have a horse
that you need to be successful and to
live everything, to get places, and just in general. So he had to go put his horse down, and it was and you hear the going boom, boom, another.
Thank you for your service. Yep.
Yeah, and. It is like I said, so at this point, it's just like now they're stranded. They don't have any horses, and they still got to get through. And they already talked about they might have to take off Patrick Wilson's leg because gangrene might set in, because it looks like it's swelling up. It's got an infection, And there was one key thing though they went through his bag because he had his wife's medical kits, and of course one of them was they had the opium tincture in there.
Yep.
Yeah, tincture, whatever. Was and basically pure pain reliever. You'd use for when you get your bullet out, and it was like almost like an anesthesia, almost a little bit, or something to take the pain away, dull it. And this becomes a key thing because at first they went because they're like, "Hey, you're not taking that stuff, are you?" And he's like, "He's not," But he was holding the bottle for a little bit, He's thinking about it because he's in a lot of pain. We also get a funny scene where they shoot a snake. He's like, "What do you see? A dead snake?" Because Patrick Wilson shoots it out of the tree.
Well, at this point here, I think the comment
Yeah.
is made because they speak in period appropriate language. It's a little flowery, but there's not a lot of it, but it's very precise and accurate. Like they
Mhm.
talk enough about the opium, so you know there's a shit ton, not a shit ton, but enough of it where you got to make sure you don't overdose, right? It's like 1 drop a day, I think's it, or 2 or whatever it was. And I think the comment that Kurt says is, okay, we got a 5 day, and because he's telling them with the opium, he's like, look, we got a 5 day ride. We're trying to compress down into 3 or whatever like that. We can only afford to pack the essentials and this and that. So basically, every single day, something limits their ability and increases the risk
Yeah.
of bad things happening. And they didn't even have bad weather, right? I mean, you make a fire and you're in a plane because you're in the middle of like kind of like a desert scrub area. People are going to see you for
Yep.
miles around. I mean, you're going to get hunted and tracked by animals, by whatever. So just the sense of like dread and they need each other was very apparent to me. And look, I love Tombstone. I think it's a great film, but there's nothing scary about it or
No,
whatever.
no,
It's a
but
character kind of thing, right? It's
what
fun.
it's a reenactment of what happened actually really went down there.
Right. And then here, the fact that he's trying to do everything because he knows his wife's dead and he's got a
And,
broken leg and he's just trying to do everything. So
the
all of a
other
sudden you feel them like being bonded together. And at this point, we have to plot forward because we're past the point of no return. We burned our ships, as the expression is said. We basically almost can't go back. We got to do this because we're going to die otherwise. That's kind of how destitute they were in this situation.
so
I thought this is just good stuff.
Yeah, I said, at this point, the movie wasn't really gory at all and stuff. Because I knew as soon as I get the troglodytes, all right, here comes the descent. Like, oh, we're going to have, and of course, because it's always Indians in these movies, someone's getting scalped. I don't like seeing it. It just was disgusting. Even, with Horizon, I didn't like it in there too. When they showed that, I was just like, you just feel bad for the people. I don't care what your opinion is of Nick is, but what happens to him in this movie was just downright evil. So basically they eventually come across, they get where the area is, and the opening cave stuff. Brooder.
What did you think about them talking about these creatures? And when they had, I think they call it the German or like that because it's a brand new thing. It's the imported telescope or the hand one or whatever, where they're looking but they don't let you see it. I thought that was badass. And the cave way up by itself that they had to climb up and
they had
that stuff down. That's badass.
Well, they had the fight between Brooder and basically Matthew Fox's and Patrick Wilson, and that caused Patrick Wilson's leg to get worse, so he had to stay behind. But then immediately right after, they get ambushed as they get near the area, and Matthew Fox gets killed.
That was brutal, bro. Their most competent killer
is
gone.
Gone. So it means your 90% or even whatever percent chance you had of living is dropped down tremendously, 3/4 or even half.
Yeah.
So because obviously Kurt Russell could probably hold his own for a little bit, but the other guy, the old man's gonna get killed first. I'm surprised he didn't. I honestly thought he was gonna go gone.
Yeah, he was gonna be the weak link, right?
Yeah,
because he's like I said, trying to do the right thing and fit in.
Yes, and I kept thinking too, it's like horror movies. The people who are having sex are the ones that die. I kept thinking it's like, the sluts die.
Virgins never get it.
Yeah, right. So I was expecting something like that and it happened, but they didn't go for the whole tropes for this. But so the old man and basically Kurt Russell get knocked out by and they're dragged to the cage, and they find out that Patrick Wilson's she's still alive, along with the meantime Nick's there, and of course while they're in there, they're seeing what's going on, and all of a sudden they see Nick. The Indian comes in, the tribal leader. They basically strip Nick of all his clothes, and this is brutal. This is where I said this is towards the very end of the movie. I looked away because I was just like, this is just too realistic. They scalp him while they hold him. He's naked. They scalp him while he's alive. He's freaking pain. And Kurt Russell's saying, "Don't worry, bro. We're going to murder these sons of bitches. You can die peacefully. It's like, don't worry. We're gonna get avenge you." And after they scalp him, they shove this spike in his mouth, throat.
They take his scalp, shove in his mouth, and they shove the spike in there to hold it in.
Yeah, and then they turn him upside down, spread his legs apart, then they hit the axe right into his crotch.
Yeah.
This is where they're going to bisect him alive.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is, it's just, of course, and they're consumed and killed David Arquette's character before this,
Mm-hmm.
And so then it gets to the point where they basically, yeah.
Right here, what I like is they're separated.
Yes.
So they're getting picked off.
The guys are in their own cage.
You don't know what you're dealing with until they come around the corner, and the fact that they're living in the cave, they're basically pale, right? Now they were physically.
Well, they're also painted white too. Also, they got the paint.
It looked like that, like maybe bone dust or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And when they tie them up to the ropes, and then you get the shot of them being dragged up in the cave. This movie is just so brilliantly shot, and the fact that they used no CGI for it and was all practical effects. This is we've talked about violence before, and I know you're not into that kind of stuff, but like when I watch like a Terrifier movie, the art clown kind of stuff,
the gore porn, I don't care for it. When you're glorifying it,
but it's cartoonish and it's not scary, right? That's the whole point. The thought of what they could do, and the fact we haven't seen all these guys, and then when Matthew Fox gets lit up and you don't even see it, then boom, dead because he's gotten shot and he's gotten hacked. I mean, you're like, fuck, that's brutal. You don't know when it's coming.
There's a difference between watching Evil Dead 2. With the dark humor thing, where this is just straight up, it's serious.
I agree, and this is done well because it's effective for the story. It's not gratuitous like you might get for the hell of it, like an exploitation.
No, but I mean that axe to the groin, and the scalp. You see his brain, and they shove it in his mouth, and it's just disgusting.
It is one of the more brutal scenes I've seen in the movie.
This is the turning point for the movie after seeing what happened to Nick and stuff. He basically at this point. Kurt Russell had already put the opium inside his flask and gives the flask, they basically take it from him and they drink it. One of them passes out and the other one, pretty much, I forgot what happened. I think it's one gets knocked out. He gets really lethargic.
The wife says there's 12, right?
Yeah.
And when the guy's getting scalped, if anybody doesn't think Kurt Russell's an A-list actor, everyone says they didn't have an A-list career. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You look at the camera on him responding to the guy because the old man says, well, why did you tell him all those things? Because he's really moral. He's basically like, why'd you lie to him? And he's like, I want his last thought to think that there would be some hope that he'd be avenged so he could be comforted. And if you can't see the look of on his face when he just stops talking, it's like, God, that's such great acting. So he's making like he's drinking because he's trying to arouse their curiosity to see if they would take it because it's the only chance they have.
Yeah.
And so she's like, well, the big one will die. The second one will be out for a long time. The third one won't have any effect because she's a doctor. She knows the dosage kind of thing based off them drinking. So in our mind, as a viewer, we're going, okay, 2 were killed outside, so they're down to 10 or whatever the number was. Now it could be down to 7. And she said there's 2 females in the back or whatever.
Only that she's seen, we don't know. There could be totally way more down deeper in the cave.
And frankly, when I first saw this movie 10 years ago, at this point, I thought it was almost over. But then when we got the number of mutants and all that, what I thought was, man, I don't know if they're just trying to give us hope or not, because this third act is pretty long, but it feels like the movie was almost over.
So
a little ways to go.
After the one takes the flask, he dies. The other one gets knocked out, and he throws it in the fire before that. So, this allows them a chance to escape, get out of there. But of course, the big chief comes in, and he ends up tackling Kurt Russell to the ground, cutting his gut open, and shoving the flask, which was in the fire, into his gut.
That's insane, bro.
Oh, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, well, Kurt Russell said goodbye to his life. He said, don't worry, honey, I'll be back. I'll come back to you. And I was like, oh, because I was like, normally when someone says, don't worry, honey, it's like, I'll be back, and stuff, it's just, I love you.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's like, because before in the movie, Chicory, the old man, was saying like, oh, I can't wait till we get home and I can do this and stuff, after this is over. I'm like, that, because that's what they kept throwing like herrings out there, like, oh, is he gonna die? Because usually when people talk about going home, what they're gonna do this, they know they'll make it home.
Brief aside here, though, that I think is relevant, but I think this is a universal thing with all humans. It's not just a cultural thing. I think it's a human thing.
Yeah.
There's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He was in concentration camps and he's a survivor.
Yeah.
And so there's psychology-wise, there's been a discussion about, well, how do people deal with extreme grief? Because you and I have talked about this before with PTSD, wasn't really put in popular culture and all that till
Shell
maybe
shock, all the different names they have for
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think that's discussed in this book is having a reason to live. If it means, if I take a tiny piece of my bread and give it to my person, I see him getting some pleasure out of it. It will sustain me on a humanistic level.
Might even,
And
yeah,
so
it
I'm
helps him
talking about
too.
all the psychology of all this. So the future talking and all that kind of stuff there. They know they're pretty much on a mission where everything has to go right. And hopefully
Well,
they
they're
just come
told
back and do his step.
the,
Right.
the one guy who could probably help them out, the other Native American said, "You're on your own. I'm scared of them. They're and of course, Matt Fox, but they're your people."
And
He's
he
like,
gets picked
"They ain't
off.
my people."
The dude's dragging behind, the other dude's dead. It's not looking good. You're like,
yeah.
So it makes sense because you're like, holy shit, this is gonna end well for you.
So of course they do whatever every good 2000s American West movie comes in. Patrick Wilson comes in, guns a blazing. Saves everybody. Yeah. He's like, honey, I'm home. I'm here. It's like, you miss me? And because he even brought the letter too that he was gonna, because she wanted him in the beginning, she wanted him to read the letter to her, the one he wrote to her when they're apart.
Yep.
And he's like, he didn't really think about it until after he was kidnapped. He's like, then he brought the letter with him. He's like, oh, you're gonna hear the words again. I swear it. And so he comes in, saves the day. Kurt Russell says, well, we still got the big dude, and we still got the two pregnant, deformed, mutants in there. It's like, I'm gonna blow the cave up. You guys get out. So
speaking because he's got the Indian was picking up his gun and it discharged into him, so he's dead, and so he's got that hole in his heart. So it's like when somebody has it, it's a really disgusting.
He knew even with the chest cavity thing, with the thing, he was no way he was going to survive. So he said the best chance is he's going to blow up. They had 6 things of dynamite, so I'm going to blow up the cave, and then as the other 3 are walking in here, boom, you hear 3 shots.
Yeah, before that, when they're leaving out the cave, they pass by this part of the tunnel where the 2 women they've got back there that are pregnant.
Oh, that was horrible too.
If they just lingered on that just a split second longer for it to really register, I thought that could have been a bit better because they were amputated. Yes. They were staked and tied up, and I think their eyes were sewn shut or like it burned out, I guess, with those sticks like that. And they're pregnant, so they're just using them as breeding material. And I'm like, that's just absolutely disgusting.
Yep, treat them like cattle.
Yeah, exactly.
The last time I saw a woman like that, it was with No Limbs, was Yasmin Bleeth in that one movie in the 90s.
Yeah, and there's been a few things like in some horror movies, but you don't get forced breeding anymore in horror movies. Shame.
Do you know what this movie really reminded me of more than also The Descent? This is like Wrong Turn versus American West.
Well, yeah, and you get like there's a small chiller movie, maybe 10, 15 years ago, where it's really kind of like it's like in West Virginia or something like that, and it's a really like hot chick in a cave that a young guy finds or whatever, and she's like coming of age or whatever, and I don't know if they have sex or whatever like that, but they find her and they lock her up and all that, and the family kind of comes out and kill. It was weird, but it's like I go, you're right. There's very little of these, horrors from the past that are still living in present day society, right? Because Bigfoot doesn't count. I mean, that just doesn't. Same kind of concept, but
all those fake cryptids, they're not real. Loch Ness Monster was not real, and it's based off of a real animal. But I mean, did they saw it? Chances, maybe one person saw it a long time ago, and it's probably died off since then. Who knows?
I think this movie's just excellent because so many things technically about it, and I think it was shot over 3 or 4 weeks. I think it was on the Paramount Ranch, which I think doesn't exist anymore. So it feels really authentic. I love the seriousness of it. And when I've talked to you before about when something is serious, I don't mean it has to be grim or has a unhappy ending like this one. You could argue does or doesn't, but they spent enough time treating all the characters seriously. They're all not perfect.
Yeah.
When you put all of them together, they make like the perfect male. And say you got the wisdom and the sensitivity of the older guy that wants to find a place. You've got the smartness of somebody that's like Matthew Fox's character. Then you've got the practical ability of doing the right thing. Kurt Russell. It's just a tremendous way of breaking down it into certain traits in each character.
So you were right. It was at the Paramount Ranch, which is still around right now.
Is it?
They did photography over like 21 days, and then they were scouting New Mexico, Utah, and Romania, which is kind of funny, Romania. Before they basically the main director said he could take up to 60 days and $10 million. He said, "Well, screw that. We're gonna small budget. We're gonna do this." The other thing I want to bring up though is that originally the cast was different.
Yo, totally different. Totally
Oh
different.
my gosh. I got confused by a poster. I was like, what is this? Peter Sarsgaard, Timothy Oliphant, and Jennifer Carpenter? That was originally the cast back in 2014, but then they decided to basically replace, we got Wilson and Fox and Simmons respectively do the yeah. So it was interesting how is what Timmy Oliphant in this would have been a totally different movie. Kurt Russell with his major star power is what made this movie worth watching.
I like it a lot more than you. It's I don't think it's one of those movies that you go, oh, there's a lot of layers in it necessarily that you could talk about, like
scenery is great. I love
all that, but it's just the feeling for it, and that's ultimately what it comes down to, I think.
And I think Kurt Russell is a bigger part of that feeling.
Absolutely.
Authentic,
he's so authentic when you watch him, and we've talked about this before. He has that.
He's also got great facial hair too.
Yeah, he does. Well, I think he was like this because of what I read was he was getting ready to film The Hateful Eight, so he had to grow it out, and it works.
I guess I was gonna say next movie I want to watch with him, whether we do a review or by myself, I'm watching Hateful Eight because I need some more Kurt Russell westerns, but I'm not gonna watch Wyatt Earp. Screw that.
Okay.
The movie he did after Tombstone, he did Earp. Remember? It bombed. It was horrible.
Don't recall off the top of my head. Should watch
it's probably a good thing you probably burned out your memory.
Well, I just Hateful Eight. I didn't think it was that good, but that's me. Tarantino is a bit overrated. I like what he does, and he has a feel, right?
It's authentic when the guy comes in and says he's not going back out there. How cold it is. That's how it gets cold. It gets up here. They're blizzards.
Yeah, but again, when I mentioned at the beginning about this being like a John Carpenter-esque thing, you take somebody that has some talent in a couple different areas.
John Carpenter vampires?
Like a John Carpenter with Halloween. Halloween was the biggest independent film of all time, and for the longest time. But this movie, did well in the aftermarket and everything. Obviously, they didn't do a big release for it. But this is the kind of movie that just is so good. I was telling everybody, man, you got to see this movie. And they're like, well, what is it? Where's it playing? What's going on?
Looks like
it's not a big release. It wasn't straight, but they just didn't release it a lot. But this is kind of those movies like an It Follows, which had a bigger budget that is phenomenal. And then what the hell's the guy done since then? Nothing. The last movie like that for me was a movie a couple years ago called Upgrade, which has some stuff tied to it. But again, you can do very well with low budget movies and all that. And imagine an episode of Fallout, the TV show that you and I are reviewing week to week now. So, it's like 15 million to 20 million an episode. And I go, that's like 8 of these films.
So the director followed up with this movie with, right?
So was it Brawl and Cell Block 70, whatever. The
Cell Block D with Vince Vaughn,
which we reviewed, and we also reviewed his other movie, with John Johnson in it. And they're all good movies. There's a feel to them. This guy has something.
S. Craig Zahler is the director and the writer for this.
Yeah.
And Jack Heller and Dallas Sonnier are the producers. I'm not sure what else they've done, but this guy has done quite a few movies.
Let me ask you, forget the horror aspect of this film in particular, but when you sit down, you go, I'm going to watch a movie and it's a Western. What is it you're looking for?
Western, I want the authentic, you want the bad guys, the clothes, everything like this. I want the way the women are dressed, the way the women acted, the way Matthew Fox acted was authentic, but he also looked the way Patrick Wilson acted. When he take the names Lord and Vane, he would go and he'd apologize afterwards, Mm-hmm. I wanted stuff like that because a lot of times you don't really see a lot of Christian or even religious people in Westerns unless you're going really old stuff like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, they really do take it out.
They really take God out of everything.
We talk about that with Christmas films. Yeah, for sure.
So, obviously the guns. I love seeing the little 6-shooters, the repeater rifles. The way they have the oil lanterns. I love that. Just the little things they had, like the look at the little medicine bottles, the way the railroads. I loved Hell on Wheels for that reason. Hell on Wheels was great, building the railroad going across country, and it was just pure Western awesomeness. And obviously, I'm glad they were basically to say to pick that, hey, there actually were savage Indians. They weren't all friendly and stuff. We didn't come in and steal their land. There were some that are actually just horrible people.
And everybody acts like, they would say, well, Indians were here before and we displaced them. Well, what do you think? Okay, if we didn't come, what were they doing? They were at war with each other, displacing each other.
Exactly.
Same old, really.
So, it's the same thing, and those people before them took it from other people. Europe is the same thing. Europe is basically white man taking from white man, from white man, from white man, from white man. It's just it's no one owns the land. We just live on it, and then we die.
Yeah, and I think Westerns have, when I look for Western, I like the stuff that you're talking about, because it obviously has to be a period piece, right? But I like the fact that you're going to get a lot of stuff outside the nature, because you don't have air-conditioned offices, right? That working is hard. If you've ever had a garden and you grow stuff or whatever, people act like, oh, it's super easy, YouTube channels, you just do this. No, it's fucking hard work.
Yeah, they see the glistening, this all stuff.
Yeah, and just how I still like that optimism, that American stuff of, hey, let's go west, let's make our own fortune, that ruggedness, that individuality of we're trying to do stuff where it is very difficult, where if you have a shirt or two, you take good care of it. It means something. When you watch people washing clothes, it's an effort, right? It's not you just throw it in the washer and dryer. I like all that, right? You have to be at one with nature, and it's difficult, and everything's important. Like the whole thing with the horse we talked about, when he's whimpering and he has to put him out and he's basically crying. I'm sitting there with my dogs, I'm almost tearing up, because I understand that bond, right? And so some of those primal instincts that we have as humans that are lost in this technological society that we have today, I just, when a movie can get that into it by, and you've said this before, you said it with horror films and stuff, hey, they're better when they don't have cell phones, and you're right, because it takes away that
I think a lot of movies without cell phones are a lot better.
I agree.
I just love it.
Can you imagine Humphrey Bogart with a cell phone? Seriously, would he have one today?
Can you imagine Superman not having a telephone booth to change in? Yeah, it's weird.
You know what? I've never thought of that, RDV. I'm serious, bro.
Yeah.
Because I've not liked all these Superman movies, but you're right, he doesn't have one.
And the only one they actually did it was Christopher Reeve.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it, but you're right.
I don't think I've seen any other one. I've seen other ones go, the Christopher Reeve pulls out if he's in the alleyway, but the only one I've ever seen the full length phone booth was Christopher Reeve. Now, the new James Gunn one, I can't remember, because honestly, that movie was one and done. Like every other movie that comes out with me, I'm just not impressed by it.
Yeah.
So you're Brad Pitt. No impressed me much, bro. Pretty much a lot of these. And like I said, it's just I love, for most part, the movies, they're not memorable. What's memorable for me is the scenery, the way the films, the things are shot.
Mm-hmm.
But so Westerns, I love them. I love these. You're able to get more gritty with a lot more. Some of these more 70s, especially this Clint Eastwood, were the more gritty ones. If you wanted the clean, fun ones, the ones you could watch with your grandpa, or your children, you watch the John Wayne.
Yeah, I remember as a kid in the 70s and a teenager in the 80s, a lot of, we've mentioned this before with some stuff about how, because of World War II, a lot of that old school stuff that our parents were into, was popular on TV. Tons of Westerns for a long time. They started dying off, I think, by the 70s. And there were some interesting television shows that were more modernistic, if they were like a detective show, let's say, or something like that, in a civilized society that's got some money. But, Walton's, Dallas, we've talked about what we're doing, Landman, and how that's there. But it's a shame, because I think that feeling of these old situations is completely gone now, and nobody really knows how to do them anymore. They dominated for so long, and they were so good, because it strips away a lot of the bullshit and it cuts right to the heart of the matter of whatever it is you're talking about here. Now, that's the feeling I get. So for me, I think this film, like you're saying, it looks great, it's fantastic. I like the lack of sound for the most part. I've got nothing but praise for this movie, and I watched it a second time. I wondered if that was going to die off a
Doesn't
little bit,
need
but
a
it's just phenomenal.
doesn't need a huge like orchestra soundtrack or like stuff,
That's what makes it
because
scarier too.
yeah,
To me.
yeah. I don't need the John Williams score or whatever. I don't know. Or dun, dun, dun. I don't need the
Final
18
thoughts?
theme. I don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. It's not as good as Abraham Vampire Hunter, but
Stop it. I love that movie though. That's a guilty pleasure.
I know it's a guilty
It seriously
pleasure
is.
for Western stuff. But as far as this movie goes, my biggest flack is I did not like the gore thing. I don't think they need to show the scalping stuff. But then again, like you can say scalping, but just like don't linger on it like they did. It was just too much. I was like, oh, okay, the naked stuff.
I don't think they lingered though. They went really quick.
Yeah, it's just oh.
Like, I don't know how long it takes to actually scalp somebody, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that they were experts in scalping, because it's not like he had a dull blade or something. Like, hey, Barley, give me your tomahawk, right? Because they can't talk, right? Last thing,
Yeah.
the fact that they didn't learn how to speak, and it evolved in their throat where they had the bone things in there whistling. What did you make of that?
I thought when's Negan coming out?
And I love how Patrick Wilson, when he's doing it, he takes out and he puts it in his mouth and he blows it and he shoots the one, and he couldn't get it to go. Little things like that I think were really terrific in this movie. I very pleased with this movie. I highly recommend it to anybody.
I love Westerns because it's home.
Yeah, there you go.
And here's the thing, though. If you're someone who has horses like Desert Rose, just watching people who have horses in the movies, and especially if you know how to ride horses, take care of them. Sometimes you notice, like, well, why are you doing that? You're not supposed to, or maybe you're not supposed to comb the hair that direction or whatever, or do this, or you're checking out the saddle. And you're like, hey, that's an actual vintage saddle, or they're using a modern version of a saddle that was not invented yet. That's the other thing too. Yeah. So I always wondered that too. It's like, Desert Rose, when you watch this, if you already watched it, but let us know, like, were they actually using like modern saddles, or were they actually using the authentic ones they had back in the day?
I've got a neighbor that just moved in with his wife. They're a young couple, and they've got a couple of dogs, a little mutt and some fat thing.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a third
Some
dog.
fat thing.
Yeah, well, it's one of those, right? The ones
It's their
sloppy.
child. It has a name. No, just kidding.
Well, they got a Belgian, and I heard it
Ooh.
barking one day, and so I
Belgians are
saw the
big.
wife one morning, and I was like, "Oh, I noticed you guys got another dog," and she's like, "Yeah, it's a Belgian, whatever you call it." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "How old?" And she goes, "Oh, I think like 7, 8 months." I'm like, "Wow, I bet that thing's a bundle of energy, right?" Because they're missiles, right? And I said, "How do you deal with it?" Because the husband's in and out within a regular schedule. She goes, "Well, inside our place, we have a treadmill." So she goes, "I turned it on, and he just ran on there and started jogging, and he did it for like an hour." I'm like, "No, that's productive, right? Because you got to burn energy." And then a little while later, I didn't hear it, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, is everything okay with the Belgian?" And she goes, "Well, he sent it back for more training because he just wasn't listening to us." I'm like, I hear they're a handful.
Yeah.
And so then I see the husband with it. I'm like, "Hey, Tank is the dog's name." I'm like,
Tank. We might as well be.
I was like, "Well, what happened is the dog just sat there and stared at me, and it wasn't evil. He didn't jump on me. He was like," and this is like an 8-month-old Belgian, right?
He was judging you.
Petting him, and exactly, and it was very scary, right? And I'm talking to him. He goes, "Yeah, he goes, we had him for training. We got him from a professional that trains him, and we sent him back for 2 months because like he just wouldn't do it." And he goes, "But then I forgot and realized that the trainer," he goes, I didn't really think about it. He goes, "The trainer trains them in German. So I would say sit or come or heel, and he would just look at me and like, well, did you learn the hand gestures to go with him?" He goes, "Kind of." He goes, "But I didn't realize it was, whatever the German word is for all those different ones."
You bring that up.
Use them, huh?
It's funny you say that, because I think of Patrick Stewart when he played the Nazi in that Ants and the Ocean movie, The Green Room, or was it? And he had the German speaking German to the Belgian dogs, and he's like,
but it's legit. And this dog, I'm like, oh my god, I'm afraid of him because he's so intelligent. And I'm like, don't go for my throat, bro.
I just hope they don't have any commands like "Sieg Heil" and like what?
No, stop it while you're ahead. Not nice, not funny.
Well, hey, I'm gonna say it now. That dog's gonna be in America. He's got to speak American. Get this German crap out of here. Raise him an American.
Well, they are German breed, sir.
I don't
Yeah.
care. You're in America. You simulate or you go back home.
It's okay to be xenophobic. Just ask the Chinese or any country that's not their country.
Yeah, they look. It's or not Maronia. Desert Rose says sorry, but says they look pretty authentic, but that's not saying that they're not newer and just made to look like they're authentic.
Yeah, they could juice them up a little bit or age them for sure. You know,
The CGI.
probably up in the prop department. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
you watched?
RDB, I want to say thanks for coming here. You know, this afternoon. This is a bit
Yeah.
atypical for us and all that. I'm glad we were able to get that in with our schedules and everything too. And again, happy birthday and all that. This is a great movie and all that. Love looking forward to doing that. And then we're going to be on Sunday night, correct, sir?
Sunday nights, depending if Professor Pixel's around this weekend, we're not sure. He has not said anything, so I am looking to at least doing if we have to at the 7:00 Eastern will be Fallout episode 4, I believe.
Yes.
Three
it is.
3, yeah, 3.
3 just dropped.
Yeah. Which drops on Wednesday nights on Amazon Prime.
Mhm.
And I'll just say this: if you're gonna train, if your dog has too much energy and you have a ranch, ride the horse and let the dog chase and run around with you.
Like, that can be dangerous though. So, and that's
Well,
the training with the horse.
Well, that's how you sink and swim. If the dog's dumb enough to run in front of you, then that's the dog.
Well, there's the working dog's not herding instinct is a big deal. So for horses, there's a certain training. So when a dog approaches a horse, I know it's usually bad news. I'm not authentic on that, but that's my understanding of it too. I don't know horses too well, but I know dogs a little bit. But no, you're right. They're tools, right? They stepped outside, they guarded the flock and everything. They were your alarms and all that too.
Well, yeah, a lot of the bastions you go for you'd go for hunting and then you ride your horse, you had your dog would run out ahead of time. So yeah, give you the best thing you can do for a dog, especially if it's a dog that needs to be command stuff like that, is take it hunting.
Yeah,
like go retrieve stuff. Golden Retriever is meant to go retrieve things.
Yes, exactly. You've got to lean into their drive, right? Which is what this movie does, and I like it. A+ movie, guys. Bone Tomahawk on Tubi right now.
Is it on Tubi? I didn't find it on Tubi.
You are welcome. Good night. You're welcome.
Oh, too late now. I already watched it somewhere else in HD. All right, guys. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Happy New Year.
Have a safe, happy New Year. All right, and later.